My boyfriend secretly scheduled and paid for a cosmetic procedure on my lady regions without my knowledge or consent, and I'm furious. My boyfriend, 26M, and I, 24F, have been together for a year and a half. Overall things are good. Occasionally he has been overbearing, but he's working on it and has made great strides of improvement. We've lived together for around 6 months. For some background, I have a mole on the outside of my lady parts. It's about the size of a pencil eraser. It's never been a problem for me and I don't mind it. It's hidden in even the skimpiest of bikini bottoms, doesn't hurt or get in the way of anything, isn't lumpy, doesn't grow any weird hair, etc. It's just a harmless little bump on the side of my vulva that I've had since I was born. Even when I'm entirely naked it is invisible unless my legs are spread, so it's the kind of thing only me and my intimate partners have ever seen. I've had an inkling that my boyfriend has never been a fan of this mole, but he won't admit that. Sometimes he'll absent-mindedly rub it between his fingers with his nose crinkled, like an expression just short of disgust, but when I asked him about it, 2 different times, he insisted the not quite disgusted facial expression was unrelated. I assumed that he didn't like it, but knew it was none of his business or concern and probably didn't want to say it because he didn't want to sound rude. He's asked me once if I've ever thought about removing it, to which I replied that it's always been a part of me and I wasn't interested in removal. Now on to the problem. My birthday was a few weeks ago. I've been getting Brazilian waxes since I was a teenager, it's just my personal preference. As a birthday present my boyfriend prepaid for almost a year's worth of waxes at the med spa I've always gone to. This seemed like a great gift. Useful, thoughtful, and saves me a ton of money. This med spa does a variety of other services as well as waxing. They do tattoo removal, laser hair removal, makeup tattoos, Botox, etc. I've had a standing appointment there every 3 weeks for years. This morning I went to my regular appointment. My waxer, who I've known for years, gushed about how kind of my boyfriend it was to call in for my services, and we went about the wax as normal. There's an oil she uses that helps to soothe the skin after the wax, and I was waiting for that to soak in when she brought out a wand that I was not familiar with. I asked her what it was for and she said, the freezing. I assumed she was prepping for her next client and stayed on the table. Then she began wiping the oil off and applied a cream directly over my mole. At this point I sat up and asked her what she was doing. Oh, this cream helps to numb the area before I freeze the mole. Then we'll cut it off, and you'll just need a stitch or two and a bandage and then you'll be ready to go. We fumbled through the awkward conversation that followed, and the bottom line is that my boyfriend had paid for my mole to be removed as well, $200. Without telling me. The receptionist who books the appointments assumed that I knew, and I signed a yearly waiver for all services from them, so it was basically just slipped in. The receptionist said that my boyfriend asked about the process over the phone. So he was aware that this procedure involved cutting something off my body and would involve anesthetic and stitches. Guys, I'm furious and cannot tell if my reaction is justified or if I'm seeing red for no real reason. This feels like such a breach of my personal boundaries, not to mention disrespectful of my bodily autonomy. I know it's small, but it's plastic surgery. There is no medical backing to having this mole removed, it would be entirely cosmetic. I obviously didn't go forward with the procedure and now I'm struggling with whether my anger is appropriate to the situation. I have not talked to him about this yet. It happened this morning, I will be seeing him this evening when I get home from work. Right now I'm thinking of breaking up with him but feel like that may be an overreaction and can't tell if my judgment is clouded. What would be an appropriate way to address this situation? Update, next day. First off, I just wanted to thank everyone for their support and validation of what I was feeling. I was second-guessing myself and feeling like I was overreacting, but after more reflection, and what happened later on in the evening, I feel so vindicated in my anger. I got home and he nonchalantly asked me how my appointment went. I managed to stay calm and told him how angry I was that he had tried to arrange for the mole to be removed without my consent and knowledge, especially because I found out that he was informed while booking the appointment that it would involve anesthetic and stitches. He said that he wasn't sorry because he thought he was doing me a favor by forcing me to bite the bullet and get it done. He said the only thing that he was sorry about was signing my name on the waiver because he knows he should not have done that. Record scratch. Wait, what? At my appointment my waxer had said something along the lines of "but you signed the waiver?" When I was blindsided by her prepping for the mole removal. She was confused that I was not aware of the mole removal plan. I had assumed she was talking about the waiver I had signed just a few weeks ago, that I have to sign every year for my services performed at the med spa. I was in a hurry to get out of there so I didn't press further, just made it clear that I did not want a mole removal and gathered my clothes and left. As it turns out, she was not talking about the annual general waiver. When my boyfriend booked the appointment a waiver was emailed over, which he signed as me and sent back to them. We're in a South American country where plastic surgery is extremely common. I am the only woman in my office without implants. I was born in America and haven't quite subscribed to this aspect of the culture, so things are a lot more lax here than I imagine they are in the US. So not only did he schedule and pay for plastic surgery on my coochie, he forged my signature on a legal document giving permission for it to be done. There is no coming back from this, and I told him so. He started crying and saying that he just wanted me to be the most beautiful I could be. Thankfully I was too angry to cry in front of him and I just told him to leave. He packed some clothes and I put the rest of his belongings in a detached garage that he has a key to. I made him leave his house keys and told him that the garage locks would be changed by the end of the week. I own the house and am changing the locks on the doors this evening, except for the garage. I'm giving him this week to clear out the rest of his things from there. I have him blocked on social media and feel very refreshed, like a weight has been lifted. I'm sure I will be hurting later and missing him, but this showed me a side of him that I absolutely cannot live with. I may not be as tan or as smooth or as busty as all the women around here, but I deserve better, I know that much. And now, my mole and I are going to settle down with a bottle of wine and download Tinder. Thank you again for everything. OP adds in the comments, he's always chuckled at my aversion, his words, not mine, to plastic surgery because it's so common here. He's asked in the past if I would ever consider implants or a nose job, etc., in the exact same way that he asked if I would ever get my mole removed. I'm not morally opposed to plastic surgery, I just never really thought there was anything wrong with my chest or my nose. So I feel like this was the tip of the iceberg. I feel like this was him pushing limits to see if he could convince me to change these other things. So I'm not feeling too great at the moment, and kind of feeling like I can't tread water with all these gorgeous women. Ugh. Also, I think it's just different cultural beauty ideals. I grew up in America but have been in Brazil for 6 years. I go back to the upper west coast of the US for about 3 weeks once a year, and I can tell that I'm a lot cuter there than I am here. If that makes sense lol. The heavily enforced beauty ideal here is like Kim Kardashian if she were in Baywatch. My American friends I've told this to have been outraged. My Brazilian friends just kind of laughed and said they wish that their boyfriends would pay for their procedures, lip fillers, etc. I feel like I'm in the twilight zone occasionally, which probably contributed to me doubting the validity of my initial anger.